Hey everyone, Erica here. As I promised last time, I will be discussing some more coffee, which I brought today and made myself if you watched the first part of this video. My own caramel macchiato. Doesn't follow the traditional espresso on top, but what are you gonna do? It's still caramel macchiato flavor. And let me take that first sip. Once again, as is last time, the lattes of choice for last time and this time are definitely for the people that like flavors. As I said last time, I don't always go for the flavors, but this summer coolness has been wanting me to want more flavor and syrup in my coffees than usual. Definitely a good flavor. I really enjoy a caramel macchiato, especially if it's as sweet as this one. Now, I made this one with, once again, the same espresso as last time, so decaf espresso. And it is a Latin American decaf espresso, which tends to give it a less acidic and a little bit more rounded flavor. Because I made it myself, it does not taste burnt as most decafs do, but this is definitely a good flavored one. I do recommend on a hot day having a nice flavored drink to help you cool down. But moving into real estate. So I talked about last time is that I was going to move into discussing a seller's market. So a seller's market, we've been there for quite a while. It is really when the demand is bigger than the supply. So we have way more buyers than we do houses on the market. Then what really causes, or what does a seller's market look like? Well, it's obviously when you have higher than market value prices. When you're going to bid on a house, you could definitely have way more offers, which can cause a lot of things, right? So it could cause bidding wars. It could cause the buyers to have to bid way over price, sometimes even in the hundreds of thousands. The seller gets to demand how they want the money, what kind of loan they want. They also can take demands and say, like, we need to waive inspections. It's a pass-fail kind of a inspection type of situation. The one thing, though, is that when you're in a seller's market, it is market-driven. So how deep the seller's market is can change in, say, our neighborhood in Camillus to how it is in Oswego to how it is in all over central New York, or even by state. Our shift, like I mentioned, has been going on for quite some time. So the current price index is actually, if you're comparing it to like the 1980s, which is where a lot of the interest rate comparisons are happening on the news today, we're 800 times the market price index from the 80s. On top of that, if you remember way back then, or if you're watching and you bought houses way back then, when the news scares you into the percentages for interest right now, they're saying that they're rising and they're at record highs, and definitely not. So way back when people were first buying their houses in the 70s and 80s, there definitely were much higher interest rates, talking about like 16-17%. Perfect example being my grandmother. When she bought a house way back then, she actually told me, she's like, I'm pretty sure the trailer that I bought was at 17% interest rate. So right now we're anywhere between 5 and 7. Nothing like that where you have to get afraid. Yes, higher than what it was, but nothing compared to what we've been in the past. Then also, if you look at the prices right now, when I was mentioning the market index, if you use my house as an example, and my house in 1995 sold for $255,000, there have been minor upgrades and now it's sold for $355,000. So the market price index shows that everything right now is selling way over what it has in the past, but also a lot of it is more than what a lot of these houses are even worth. What caused the seller's market? Well, like I mentioned, we have a lot more buyers than we do than we do houses. The housing shortage has happened a lot because of the pandemic. So due to slow supply chains, a lot of supplies aren't making it in time for people to build houses, and they're not able to keep up with what is necessary. There are more buyers now because, like I mentioned, the extreme low interest rates are causing people to want to buy, as well as a lot of them have saved money from the pandemic, whether it be their stimuluses or they went out and got new jobs, which were offering much higher rates in order to get them into a job while the pandemic was going on. This has also caused us to have this higher demand than we do supply. What to beware of in a seller's market? Well, first, make sure or don't go into it not making your best offer up front. You need to be ready for someone else to possibly have a better bid. So you need to be ready to have your best foot forward, but also try to have something in your pocket to save for later, just because if you do have to rebut or come back with a counter, you want to be able to add a little spiciness to that offer, such as more cash down, like I mentioned, inspections being waived, buying as is, anything like that. Another one is to not be ready for a bidding war. Could be something very drastic that could cause a lot of problems. If you're not ready, then you most likely are going to lose a house to someone that does have other stuff to be able to bid later. Another couple of personal touches too when you're in a bidding war, it could even be as small as a handwritten letter to the owner saying why you want the house, why the house should go to you over someone else that's purchasing it. It could make it personal. Another one to be aware of is coming to the table with too many demands as a buyer. So if you want, like we've had in the past when it's been a buyer's market, you want to have an inspection and have your seller fix everything on that inspection before you buy it. That's not going to happen right now. You want to cover costs and things of that nature to help the seller want to come to you. So beware of not being accommodating when it comes to putting in your bid. So like some other things to help with that would be covering costs for them leaving furniture to help them move out. Another big one would be repairs, right? So from the inspection, if there are repairs that need to be done for the loan to go through, that could also be a way to help entice a seller. Another one to also beware of is making sure that you're already pre-approved before you go into making your offer, so that the transaction will move along and you're not wasting anybody's time. That could be another one to beware of as a buyer. So from a seller's point of view, what to do right or what to beware of would be pricing still needs to be done right. If you go in too high right now, you're still going to sit. If you're trying to be too greedy and you're getting too much, the house is most likely going to sit on the market. You never want a house to sit on the market for too long, because then it lessens the desirability of the house. Also, you want to make sure that you put it at a price point that could cause multiple offers, and it could cause a bidding war. That'll help you get max dollar. You also want to make sure that you're still staging and making the house look perfect in order to attract those buyers. You want to be able to get top dollar, so use a staging technique that will attract your buyers. Another one is to be ready on right now, especially if your appraisal is less than what people are offering. So remember, there has to be a match of what the bank will offer versus how much the house is worth, right? So your buyer is going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house, and the bank says it's only worth 50, just as an example. You have to cover the difference in some shape, way, or form. You and your buyer need to figure out a way, whether it be a seller negotiates with the buyer, whether the buyer negotiates with the seller, to figure out how that difference is going to be covered. But just remember, as a seller, the biggest thing is your buyer's not going to have an extra 50 grand to cover that, usually an extra 50 grand to cover that split. So figuring out creative financing and being able to help your buyer and your seller is going to be the number one thing from a selling standpoint to get that house sold. And then the other one is, especially in our area, one great thing is that to the sellers is the houses are flipping still really quickly to being sold. I know in my neighborhood we're looking at only 16 days on the market, and some as little as 6 days on the market, with the averages of houses actually being on the market before already being taken right back off. So once again, with a seller's market, we're really looking at, seller being able to dictate a lot of what happens in a transaction. Buyers have to be patient. There is a subtle, shift coming, as I mentioned before in the previous episode, and we will start to see a little bit more of a buyer being able to control. So looking forward to next episode, we will go into what a buyer's market looks like and how to prepare for that shift. Thank you.